if there's one idea that I may find almost not more objectionable than the positive only cult bullshit. I don't want to use the word ideology because it's overused, but one idea in dog training that I just truly disgusts me almost as much, if not as much, is this bullshit mantra from obedience trainers, balance trainers, whatever, of fix one behavior quickly. It really disgusts me, and I think it's primarily a marketing gimmick. I don't really care, just like with the positive only people, I don't care whether or not the people who say it actually believe their own bullshit, because it's a deeply damaging idea, and it's one that you can sell to owners very easily. And I have an uphill battle with people to fight sometimes. Not that they're resistant to the idea, it's just it's hard for them to wrap their head around it, because all these assholes out there that try to pitch that sale like that, we'll just solve that one problem, that's how behavior works. And my God, is the sun bright, isn't it, Woody? And of course it isn't. With a human being, not that I like to draw parallels too much, but behavior isn't isolated. I think that isn't too difficult of a concept to understand, but people have been conditioned to really think of dog behavioral problems as occurring almost in isolation. Okay, so how do we address that? How do we deal with that? And the answer is you don't. A lot of the time, you really don't. Not directly, certainly not immediately. And I think it creates a really false set of expectations in owners about not just how to deal with a problem that you're experiencing with your dog, but how dogs actually function. It creates this deep confusion, and it's a huge part of the problem. Now, first of all, it's implying that whatever you want your dog to do is possible. And that's a terrible thing to put out there to people. People have to really accept the responsibility for who their dog is. And let me give you a very, very clear example. And it's unfortunately becoming an increasingly common one. Suburban family gets a Belgian Malinois. And they wanted a golden retriever or a half-dead lab. Dog that's been overbred through single trait breeding for docility, maybe color, and they're sweet dogs, but they usually have health problems and whatever. But they want a couch potato. They want a family dog, a dog you don't have to worry. Well, how do I get him to stop tearing up the couch and ripping the house to shreds and using his teeth on everything and try to kill anything that moves fast and all this crazy shit he's doing? How do I get him to stop that? Well, there's a few different ways you can do it, but the best way for a family like that to do it is just to get rid of the dog. It's not a realistic expectation that they're imposing on them. They're basically saying, how do I get my Malinois to stop being a Malinois? It's like if you got a pet alligator and the alligator was biting you and some fucking charlatan came along and was like, all right, well, we can fix this real fast. We'll get rid of that problem for you. You'd be like, that's nuts. And it's just as crazy as the guy. And there's one trainer in particular, and I don't want to call him out because it's catty, but I fucking hate the guy. He's a balanced trainer. He's like all about punishment. He's a pseudo-intellectual asshole. I hate him. But he's a huge proponent of fixes. You got to be able to fix one behavior and do it quickly. And it's the worst. So yeah, you could punish to potentially diminish behaviors. A lot of times you're just suppressing it. So when someone who doesn't puff their chest out as hard as you do comes along, the dog's just gonna go back, and sometimes they're worse. And the dog's underlying makeup hasn't fundamentally been altered, and that's the thing. A lot of these dogs that have serious problems, these are really globalized kinds of issues, right? You have a dog that has no structure. His needs aren't being tended to in terms of mental and physical exercise. He's not being given any obedience, right? He's not being given any leadership. If he's a high drive dog, he does not have outlets for his particular drives and instincts, which have been, through genetic engineering, unnaturally enhanced relative to wolves, at least. And they need to go someplace, and they're not going anywhere. They're just sitting around not doing anything, and the dog's going nuts. So there's all this shit going on with the dog, and some fucking asshole walks in the living room and says, oh, well, we'll get rid of that real fast. We'll slap an e-collar on him, bonk him, fucking bonking. We'll just punish the shit out of the dog, get rid of the behavior real quick, and then over time, he'll get better. It's like, no, man, that's not the fucking way it works. That's not how behavior works. Behavior is nonlinear. It's hyper complex. It's interconnected to all kinds of other nonlinear variables, and to reduce it down to some fucking algorithm is, it's stupid. It's simple, and it's not accurate. And to sell it as being the truth, I think, is deeply disingenuous and wrong. And I have a huge problem with it. So if you have a problem with your dog, right? Say he just bit someone, you have to view it as a symptom. Okay? You got to understand that there's a lot of stuff going on with that dog, man. And you almost certainly don't have a very good understanding of him. And it's probably not a high drive dog. Probably just a regular dog with a regular owner who doesn't really get him, and that's not your fault. People have been just assaulted with propaganda, and they've been just bombarded with cynical marketing campaigns that have really taken advantage of them, and the dogs have paid the price more than anyone, but the owners have really gotten hurt too. So it's not owner's fault, but the fact is that your average ordinary owner really doesn't know shit about dogs, and that's okay. But you got to understand, it's not happening. It's very unlikely to be happening in isolation. And if you don't tend to all the dog's needs, it's just tons and tons of structure, tons of exercise, giving them an outlet, stimulating them mentally is a huge one. Even with regular dogs, that aren't like turbocharged Malinois or something like that. They got to have some sort of form of mental activity just to develop confidence. And that's the biggest problem that I run into, are dogs with a lack of confidence. They're not being challenged, they're not being stimulated, they're not being engaged. Okay? And there's usually a huge leadership void to varying degrees. And they feel bad about themselves. You could see it in their body language, and they just haven't had anybody step up and breathe life into them and show them, like, dude, like, you can do a lot of cool shit. You're a dog, You're fucking, look at you. You're almost like a tiger. You're a wolf. You're a badass. Step up. Be what you are. Stop. And fixing, barking the dog for rushing the door, fixing that one problem isn't going to boost the dog's confidence, okay? Structure can help. Obedience helps, but it's part of an integrated overall formula. And you got to address things from the inside out and from the outside in. It's a holistic approach that works best, and it has the longest lasting impact on the dog. And I just really find it abhorrent, the idea that you can just walk in and punish a dog, get rid of that one behavior. You got to change really the owner's whole mentality about what a dog is and what they need. And people tend to operate in these two extremes, like this dog whisperer shit. Shh, take it easy, pal. Calm down. Or positive only nonsense. And both are lies. And people have been bamboozled. And this is just another version of that. And it's beginning to become more and more of a trend with obedience trainers, balance trainers, whatever you want to call them. And so it's just a new species of charlatan in the dog training industry, and I hate it. I really hate it. I think it's morally, intellectually bankrupt, and shouldn't be sold to people like that. So watch out for those guys. And you got on as an owner, Alakai, the Australian Shepherd I trained, he had bit the mover. So his owners are fantastic owners. They were like, well, he's got this aggression issue, he's got a territorial thing going on. She's like, all right. So I took the dog out. This dog's amazing. It's great. It's fucking perfect. This is the best dog I've ever trained. There's nothing wrong with him. Super intelligent. He was a high drive dog in the sense that he was a Mensa dog. All right. He wasn't a super hyper Australian Shepherd, so I think they misread him a little. He needed doggy intellectual mental stimulation. And that's what we focused on. I tried to take him to the next level, off leash stuff. I just tried to maximize his potential and challenge him and make him feel good about himself, and he needed that to feel good. And that's what we did. And the whole way through, it just took his owner, again, was an awesome owner. It just took her a while for her to understand why any of this shit was relevant. I'm doing all this crazy stuff with the dog, and I just wanted to not bite people, and I get that. I understood perfectly, but I think she understood. Just okay, I kind of get it. Wrapped her head around. That's not her fault. It's the fault of this marketing bullshit. The behavior occurs in isolation. Why would it? It's so complex, behavior in any living organism. Why would it just be happening in that one domain? The dog must be a cunt. That's why he did. He's a cunt. So bonk him. Fucking bullshit. Anyway, I hate it. I hate bonking, and I fucking hate solve one behavior fast. And if you hear that shit from any trainer, run the fuck away.